Welcome to Made in Science, the official podcast of the University of Stuttgart. Companies are among the most important players in modern history. They form the basic units of economic value creation. From what I've found in my research on this topic, they are pacemakers and objects of economic and technical structural change. They are also employers. They shape geographical and social spaces, as well as cultural patterns of perception. Plus, they exert political influence. All of the above are excellent reasons to study and talk about corporate history today. I would like to do this with Professor Boris Gehlen, who holds the Ferry Porsche Endowed Chair of Business History here at the University of Stuttgart. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Well, perhaps we can begin with a more general perspective. On the website of Business History, I found 4 main areas that I mentioned there. Let's walk through these together, if possible. First and foremost, it says that the subject of business history is an independent historical subdiscipline, and that it was formed or understands itself this way. Could you tell us more about this understanding and definition of the area?
Yes, of course. Business history in Germany is indeed a subject mostly to social and economic history, which is divided in 2 parts. It's on the economic side and on the history side. And business history is mostly done by historians that are researching corporations and business in the whole field and are interested in the role business plays in modern societies in the 90s and 21st century. And we have a wide range of topics we're interested in. It's a small subject, so among 7 or 8 colleagues are especially dealing with business history in Germany. And we are very international, of course. We are working together with colleagues from Europe and as well from the US, and where business history is mostly researched at business schools. So there are more management scholars or what we call in Germany Betriebswirte. So there is a small difference between the German path of business history and the international path, but we are interlinking it.
For the second aspect, and I think you have just touched upon this already, we also understand business history in Germany as part of economic and social history. Could you explore on that as well?
Yeah, of course. Social and economic history at the history departments tries to explain how modern societies have developed and which role businesses and corporations played, especially in political sense, especially when it comes to dealing with national socialism and the role the economy played authoritarian regimes, as we do have in Germany a large landscape of very good archives as from corporations as well as regional economic archives. We have the sources, and so it makes sense to go deep into businesses to explain society and economics through the lens of corporations.
And how is this particular second field that you have just summarized different from the third one that is listed on the website, where it says it belongs to the general historical science as well?
Yeah, most research questions we develop, at least in Germany, are interlinked with the history research. I myself, I'm part of the history department here in Stuttgart. So, of course, we are interested in all the historical topics that are dealt with. I've mentioned National Socialism as a huge field. I've mentioned, I would like to mention the changes in the economy and society since the 1970s, second wave of globalization, where corporations played a huge role by changing societies as well in the host as well in the home as well as in the host countries, and we can explain such phenomenons as globalizations through the lens of corporations. And for this, we need to engage with research questions that are dealt with in contemporary history as well.
And then finally, it's stated that that business history is also a bridge subject. And so kind of an umbrella for many areas. What does this umbrella look like?
It's either a very small one or either a very large one. I would like to draw the picture of a very large umbrella. Of course, corporate history is always a kind of micro history. As you mentioned, corporations are interlinked with the economy, are interlinked with the society, are interlinked with politics, and we can explain how societies, how economics developed if you look at the corporate archives, if you look at the sources and see under which circumstances which business decisions are made and to which extent the expectations of businessmen and businesswomen were successful or not.
If we sum this up, and I know it's not possible to put it in a nutshell as such, but again, a broad question from my side here, and perhaps even a naive one. What can we understand better by understanding business history? And for yourself, what have you better understood once you dived into this area?
We are able to understand how decisions are made under circumstances, under uncertainty, and which instruments are used to reduce uncertainty. We can explain how society is perceived by big economic players, and how probably social and economic problems should be solved in the view of businessmen and business women. So it puts a narrow view on the whole society. And what I learned especially was the flexibility of corporations to solve problems, and corporations are always part of the problem and part of the solution in a historical way. So it's really worth to take a closer look at business history.
You just mentioned corporations, and so I would like to ask, how important are official business narratives and statements for business historians? How does a company, how does a business like to be seen? And can you make use in an objective way of the information that is provided by a narrative from a company, and then that is evaluated by your research?
Oh, that's a hard question and a hard topic. Of course, we're sometimes able to do so because we do have the official narratives and what a company is like to be seen, which efforts are made to give a self-description, and sometimes we have the personal correspondence where we know from what people addressed exactly to politicians or officials, and sometimes we have diaries, and we know how functional these arguments were. So we have to put this together. That's what we historians do. Take different sources and analyze and answer our research question or give a new detail that we found in the archives. And probably we can correct or criticize official narratives, especially when it comes to big players in the oil industry or in the automotive industry, etc.
Have companies in the recent past become more open about opening their archives to researchers?
It depends, as always. What we can see is that there's a huge interest in corporations to have more information about their role during national socialism throughout the last 30 years. But now smaller companies are interested in that as well, and they open their archives. If we come to more recent research questions, especially human rights questions and plans, South Africa or elsewhere since the 1970s, that's not always the case that we can see the sources. This has mostly to do with juridical problems. Companies have become, in this regard, more cautious, and in another regard, to the not so recent past, more open during the last decades.
Perhaps we can now bring the whole subject closer to us, home to us, if you want. So your work touches on politics and culture and technology history. When we think of Stuttgart with technology, engineering industry, it seems like a natural fit to do this kind of work right here. How does the local context shape your research questions?
There's probably two ways to answer this question. The first one is, of course, we have a regional landscape of business that is not so much dominated by big business, but from small and medium-sized companies. So I'm going to put the focus more on that kind of businesses. Especially the academic landscape here in Stuttgart is really open to interdisciplinary research, which is, of course, very useful for such an umbrella topic like business history. So I really like to bridge between the disciplines, like to know what they are researching, what are the current problems, and what can we as historians do to help to answer these questions on a broader fundament.
One area where companies, I think, are best known to people is marketing. And here in Stuttgart, Professor Christina Kühnel is one of your colleagues. And I wonder how close you work together in this field.
Yeah, currently, we are working quite close together because we are planning a project on marketing topics using a certain focus which we can answer with current marketing research and which we probably can answer on a broader fundament with the view of the archival sources. So especially how can marketing be implemented in growing intercultural circumstances by multinational businesses that have to deal with cultures in 150 countries, and not every slogan fits very well into every country. There are many aspects of that we are proposing to research in the future.
When you just mentioned the international dimension of this work, there are also in different countries, I think, regulatory mechanisms that address your field. Self-regulation versus political regulation comes to my mind here. For instance, at the EU level, is this topic a problematic one in your work? Have you addressed it already, or do you plan to do this?
I've currently published on a book that's published, I think these days, an article about the interactions of corporations and the tax state, which might be a good example to answer your question. It is throughout history in the 19th, 20th century not a clear story. It's always about state incentives that make corporation to pay more or less taxes. Often they pay less taxes, and it's a topic of state policy and interstate policy, that some regions become capital hubs or tax havens, attracting capital, which makes investment for businesses cheaper, which is an incentive to go to these tax havens. So what we can see from our research is that saving taxes is not the core element of this financial business strategy, but it always reacts on that what states in the home or in the host country offer to businesses. And of course, arbitrage, regulatory arbitrage is in context of globalization or internationalization a very huge topic where corporations are able to influence their business environment in such a way that they have to pay less and earn more, so to do what what corporations are meant to do. So it's producing at the cheapest level, and in at least in a liberal view, this should bring societies and the economic forward.
This basically asks for case studies, I can imagine. And this leads for me also to the question how perhaps students are involved in this kind of work that you describe. What focus areas can students who study business history actually specialize in?
In everything what corporations do, but this might be an answer that's too easy. It always depends on what the research focus of the students wants to be. So in my classes, I teach quite large topics, but always interlinked to a historical problem. So I'm dealing with business and war, and I was dealing with business and democracy, and business and globalization. That are topics where we can see if students of history are interested in globalization, are interested in war, they can come to my classes and take a different view. They get to know by my colleagues and probably have a broader picture of what they want to do in their thesis.
One of my online courses here at the university, in cooperation with international universities in India, in South Africa, and in Italy, is about the effects of globalization in various countries. And from what you just said, what would you recommend to me to look at when it comes to the question of economy and globalization these days?
You at first shouldn't condemn corporations, and at second shouldn't glorify them, but to take a closer look what especially companies do in their home country, what are their social values they propose to do, and what are they doing in the host country, where they have where they run plans, and how do they implement local culture into running a plant, for example, in India, and how does this probably make the management in the home country rethink their own values. In this view, corporations are a kind of channel for intercultural understanding, and that's what we see quite clear in recent studies.
That works definitely along my line, and thank you for that recommendation as well. Now, you yourself, when you approached this area that you work in, you were a first-generation student when you took up your studies. When you started out, what was your career plan?
I had none. To be honest, I went to university and did not know what I can ever do with this, especially as I wanted to study history, but I didn't want to study medieval history. So I thought, okay, you're doing social and economic history. This sounds not so much for ancient or medieval history. So I began to study, and obviously I wasn't the worst student. I became a student assistant very soon, and I more and more got into this topic, and I liked it. So, and I still like it. And this is probably my motivation to be here, that I really like what I do, and that I, at least for me, think business history makes sense, not only to me, but probably to a larger audience.
The larger audience, maybe the first generation students here at the university as well. Do you have any recommendation and advice for this particular group?
Don't be that careful towards the institution of university as I were. So at least in Stuttgart, you have the chance to ask the professors if you have a problem, and you should do so. This is what I've learned from my history. I was very cautious at the very beginning. Didn't like to talk to an audience and such thing, but you can work on that. You have always if you like what you do, and if you see it makes sense what you do, this should be your motivation, and this should be how you think about studying. It's studying makes you smarter as a human being, and makes you cleverer, and helps you, regardless whether you want to become an academic or probably go to the regular job market. So, to put it in a nutshell, if you like what you do, do what you like.
And you did, in your very interdisciplinary field. How did you decide which particular branch of the field to focus on?
It depends probably on my mood. I'm very, very curious in nearly everything that has to do with corporations. So I'm not really focusing on one research area. So I've done research on the early 19th century as well as on the late 20th century. I've done research on mining as well on banking, on entrepreneurs as a social class, entrepreneurs as individuals. So my focus is to draw probably the whole picture, which is not possible at all, but at least take a broad perspective on business history and try to explain in certain historical periods how corporations behaved and why they did so.
This may lead also to your work that is also happening at a Stuttgart research focus, Reproducing Realities. This is an interdisciplinary research center that brings together projects on mediated, reproduced realities. Why have you decided to join this research project, and what outcomes could be expected from your work?
I really like to work on an interdisciplinary level, and so it was it was clear to me when I was asked to join that I would join, because I think we can very much learn from each other, from different disciplines. Not so much for how for what is core to our own field, but how to interlink different research methods and questions. And I really like that. So it was no question to join, and I hope to get inspiration, get to know new methodologies, and to get to know some new partners to do research closer to business history, probably. This is what already happened to the co-work with Christina Kühnel. So it's a kind of area where we can develop something new, and this is one of the strengths that the Stuttgart way always proposes, and it certainly is.
Well, thank you for having introduced us to the fields, not just the field, but the fields, really, of your work, research, and teaching here at the university, but also for having shared your personal experience when you were a student. Towards the end of our conversation, we always have a section with small questions, and please answer them very briefly. We call this section Moment 7 because there will be 7 questions. Number 1. Spätzle or Maultaschen?
Maultaschen.
Number 2. One thing you could change about the world would be?
Give peace to Earth.
Number 3. Do you have a recommendation for us for a book or a movie or a museum visit or a theater performance that you saw?
It would be too easy to say to go to the Porsche Museum as they are funding me. But of course, if you like automotives, this could be one museum.
Number 4. The best advice that you have ever received was?
Be like you are.
Number 5. The favorite place at the University of Stuttgart is?
I think the classrooms.
Number 6. If I could start all over again, I would do the following differently.
I think I would think about becoming a fan of 1. FC Köln again.
And number 7. Please complete also this sentence. Thanks to my studies, I know that
the world is complex, that the world still exists, and that it's worth to work for the future.
Professor Boris Gehlen, thank you for having spent time with us and our audience here today.
Thank you.
All the very best for your research and your teaching at our university and in the cooperation with many colleagues here in Stuttgart. And to our audience, please stay tuned for our next conversations that are always based on what is made in science. My name is Wolfgang Holtkamp. Have a great podcast day. Goodbye and good talking.